Halley was the first comet to be recognized as periodic. Until the Renaissance, the philosophical consensus on the nature of comets, promoted by Aristotle, was that they were disturbances in Earth's atmosphere. This idea was disproved in 1577 by Tycho Brahe, who used parallax measurements to show that comets must lie beyond the Moon. Many were still unconvinced that comets orbited the Sun, and assumed instead that they must follow straight paths through the solar system. In 1687, Sir Isaac Newton published his Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, in which he outlined his laws of gravity and motion. His work on comets was decidedly incomplete. Although he had suspected that two comets that had appeared in succession in 1680 and 1681 were the same comet before and after passing behind the Sun, he was later found to be correct. See Newton's comet. He was unable to completely reconcile comets into his model. Quote, ultimately, it was Newton's friend, editor and publisher, Edmond Halley, who, in his 1705 synopsis of the astronomy of comets, used Newton's new laws to calculate the gravitational effects of Jupiter and Saturn on cometary orbits. Having compiled a list of 24 comet observations, he calculated that the orbital elements of a second comet that had appeared in 1682 were nearly the same as those of two comets that had appeared in 1531, observed by Petrus Apianus, and 1607, observed by Johannes Kepler. Halley thus concluded that all three comets were, in fact, the same object returning about every 76 years, a period that has since been found to vary between 74 and 79 years. After a rough estimate of the perturbations the comet would sustain from the gravitational attraction of the planets, he predicted its return for 1758, while he had personally observed the comet around perihelion in September 1682. Halley died in 1742 before he could observe its predicted return. Halley's prediction of the comet's return proved to be correct, although it was not seen until 25 December 1758, by Johann Georg Pallich, a German farmer and amateur astronomer. It did not pass through its perihelion until 13 March 1759. The attraction of Jupiter and Saturn having caused a retardation of 618 days. This effect was computed before its return, with a 1-month error to 13 April, by a team of 3 French mathematicians, Alexis Clairaut, Joseph Lalande, and Nicole Reine-Lepaute. The confirmation of the comet's return was the first time anything other than planets had been shown to orbit the Sun. It was also one of the earliest successful tests of Newtonian physics, and a clear demonstration of its explanatory power. The comet was first named in Halley's honor by French astronomer Nicolas Louis de Lacaille in 1759. Some scholars have proposed that 1st-century Mesopotamian astronomers already had recognized Halley's comet as periodic. This theory notes a passage in the Babylonian Talmud, Tractate Horiot, that refers to a star which appears once in 70 years that makes the captains of the ships Researchers in 1981 attempting to calculate the past orbits of Halley by numerical integration, starting from accurate observations in the 17th and 18th centuries, could not produce accurate results further back than 837 owing to a close approach to Earth in that year. It was necessary to use ancient Chinese comet observations to constrain their calculations.